All right, welcome back to the Grace Family Love Podcast. We are back with you for episode number 19. And as always, we are hoping to reach you right where you're at. And our goal is to help you stop surviving and start thriving.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to this episode. I know we've been getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah. So it's been really cool to kind of hear from you guys. And it's been interesting to hear not only like your guys' input, but also what you guys are kind of going through. So one thing I want to do is I want to give a shout out to Janet, because her last name I think is Urian. Thank you for always sharing our podcast. And I've noticed that on Facebook, she's constantly posting and sharing and just giving us her input. So I really, really appreciate that. You. And then also to Maha, thank you so much for just sharing just our podcast and our videos. Like,
yeah, you're so awesome.
We appreciate you so much. So we wanted to talk about a little bit about the second thing that is up there with the cause of divorce. So we want to just give you a disclosure as well too, that not necessarily because you have problems with this one thing, like that means you're destined for a divorce. Like one of the things that our pastor mentioned all the time is that he said divorce doesn't happen from one day to the next.
For sure.
So what happens is that a little bit of everything, it's like a drop in a cup. You drop. Every time there's a problem with marriage, money, there you go. With sex, there you go. With family. So there's a drop of everything. So by the time your cup is full, that's when you're just like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore with you. Like, I'm tired. And you get to the point where you are tired, and it happens. Like, it's happened to us. It's happened to many couples that we've talked to. And we kind of just want to help you avoid that. And that's why we're kind of going over these things. So we know that this might not be the particular, what do you would call it? Like,
this might not be the issue for you,
right?
That breaks you, but it also, to acknowledge that you have the issue, I don't want you to be so afraid or fearful that you're just one step away from divorce because you have this problem.
Yes.
I think too that something to think about when we started our relationship, Vanessa talked about one drop at a time, and it could be that problems in each of those areas just causes you to be angry.
Yeah.
And so it gets to the point where every time your spouse does something, you're just irritated and annoyed and frustrated. And so it's just another drop of anger and another drop of anger. You have problems in the finances. Like she said, it just fills up. In our relationship, I want to acknowledge too, right off the bat, because we carried so much baggage and so many issues into this relationship, it was like she started with her cup full already.
Yeah,
of
that's true.
Anger and regret and grudge. And so when I made a mistake, it was already overflowing. And so divorce for us, it was like she said that word like every day. I want a divorce. I want a divorce. Yeah. And it was literally to the point, I'm not exaggerating, where it was like she had a bag packed, and at any given moment she was ready to just pick up the bag and leave.
Yeah.
And it happened on several occasions that she said, that's it, I'm out of here, I want a divorce. And she would leave and take off to her mom's house. And so I didn't know, but thank God that, I don't know, that her mom just had it in her to at that moment speak to her and say, you need to go home.
Yeah, make it work.
Yeah, make it work. So just God bless her. God bless you, Laura. And God bless our pastors, because in spite of our immaturity, in spite of our inability to grow up and really see each other, really see each other for the valuable, person that she was, and vice versa. We were just so caught up in our own way. We were so selfish. Yeah. We just wanted to be happy. And if she wasn't making me happy, then I had a problem. And if I wasn't making her happy, then she had a problem. There was no servitude. We weren't thinking about the well-being of each other. We didn't care about the outcome. it was your kids and my kids, and you don't tell my kid what to do, and you don't punish my kid. You do whatever you want with your kid. It was so difficult, and it was so frustrating many times. And there were times where I would just be in the shower and I would cry because inside of me, I wanted to lash out so bad because that was how I used to handle things. Yeah. And I held it back because that led me to divorce already. And so I knew that was the wrong thing. And I didn't know how. So it took just countless hours of sitting down with us and man, just beating through this thick skull of mine with love and patience and compassion from our pastors, just really taking the time to get us to see things from a different perspective. And God bless them. They've been married for so many years that they're also able, just through experience, to say, you know, we've been through that. Yeah. We've been there, and it's possible to change. So I would recommend for you, if you haven't used that word divorce, just go ahead and scratch it out of your vocabulary. Yes. Just erase it completely and really buckle down and figure out how you can make this work. Okay. Yeah. If divorce is flying out of your mouth every other moment, then just really take a step back, think about what that word means. And when you say that, especially if you have children, think about what that means. Think about what that word brings along with it. You're not just separating from a person from another adult that causes you problems. You are breaking up a family unit. You are breaking up a child's mother and father. And from personal experience, it is a terrible and it's a miserable experience to grow up neither here nor there. It's so uncomfortable, and it's very difficult to figure out who you are, who you can trust, what you're about, how to handle life when you are just living in one household and things are one way, and you go to another household and things are a different way. And it's so toxic. In spite of a lot of parents' best effort, it's toxic. And here's just something to think about. This is how selfish we can be. I think we divorce not because we want bad for the kids. We just want for ourselves. We want better. We want more. We want to be happy. And I get it, right? It sounds terrible to say that that's bad, but let me just explain what I'm trying to get at. If in my marriage, if I put myself first every day, there is no way, not even in a healthy marriage, you never put yourself first 100% of the time. That's just not a way to be in a relationship. Yeah. You have to give and take. You have to sacrifice some things. You have to find the middle ground at times. Sometimes you're going to give 80% and she's going to give 20%. What about the days when she was in bed and she couldn't get up? Do I look at her and say, "Oh, what are you doing just laying around all day every day? Like what I got to do everything around here?
You got to push in his wheelchair. What's wrong with you?"
And so so it takes a mind to think of all of those things. Yeah. Okay. So here's what I was getting at. We're so selfish that in divorce, wouldn't it make more sense for the parents to switch houses every week or every other weekend so the kids can keep their room, keep their stuff, keep their things keep their home intact so they don't have to switch and live out of a bag, live out of a backpack, have your parents fighting over whose underwear or whose and who bought whose socks. Like, doesn't that sound so petty? But that's what we do when we put our kids in those positions out of selfishness. Yeah. You move. You go live somewhere else, and when it's your turn to be with the kids, then you move back into the house and then pack up your things and then move back out. I think if that was the standard,
a lot of people would be like, forget that. I don't want to go through that.
Nah, you'd be like, I'm good. It's cheaper to keep her. Forget I said that. I'll probably regret that later, but
no, it's serious, guys. Like, and we don't understand the hardship that our kids go through, and you won't fully ever understand because it's not the same scenario every single time. And the part about just being selfish is it's so true, because we think about our happiness and then we go about finding somebody that's going to make us happy, but it's that fake happy. It's that high lust emotions, that high intensity sex and texting secretly. And, you know, he called me Hawa. Somebody wasn't looking, like whatever crap you want to call it. And I say that because I was there.
Yeah.
I was there. Like, if somebody just gave me that extra attention, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be talking to you because I want to live in that fairy tale. But then what happens when you go back to reality? You still have to look at yourself and see all of the things that are wrong with you that you can't fix in this marriage, in this relationship.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. And then you kind of just drag everybody along. So what we want to talk today about is sex. And that is number 2 on our list. So I want to talk about this because it's very important to just make sure that you don't misunderstand. It's not something where it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so annoying to talk about, because it shouldn't be annoying to talk about it. That's the sad part, that it shouldn't be something where it's already causing you like, I'm going to just skip over this one. I don't want to hear this one, because it's important for both of the relationships. So I was talking to Joe earlier because I read this verse, okay? And I'm gonna just read it to you guys real quick. So it's this guy, and he's talking about like what it is to look or think about a girl, but this isn't a marriage, it's in a relationship, okay? So imagine if your husband is talking about you and he writes this poem, okay? And this is what it says. How beautiful you are, and how pleasing, my love, with your delights. Your stature is like that of a palm, and your breasts like clusters of fruit. I said, I will climb the palm tree. I will take a hold of its fruit. May your breasts be like clusters of grapes of the vine, the fragrance of your breath like apples, and your mouth like the best wine. So imagine if you're describing somebody like this, the intimacy part, like, that's like, dang, like, is that even really possible? Right. Like, really? Is that something possible? So let me tell you something, okay? I have never in my life, like, I watch a lot of movies, I watch a lot of soap operas, I watch a lot of things. And in the movies, there is something that happens when there is a sex scene. It's either really raunchy and just crazy, and that kind of just spikes your interest, or there's just people making love. And that's what it's called. It's making love. And there's nothing involved. There's no toys. There's no pornography. It's clean making love. And it's quality time, and it's intimacy.
Yeah.
So I have never been in a place where I've experienced that until I was in a marriage where God was involved.
Yes. I'm
not kidding you. So when you see this stuff on TV and you're just like, that's fake. It's not fake. It's just that you haven't got to that level where literally God can create something so beautiful out of these 2 broken people. And you can literally sit there and lay in bed and just be so excited that you're literally just holding each other because you're just happy. Like, you're happy to be with that person and you're so delighted in that moment. You know, and I talk about this because it took us a lot to get here, but it is possible. And there's some moments where I just tell Joe, like, man, like, God really created some really cool things. Like, he really did. Like, the moment where you feel peace and you're just like, man, this is such a nice feeling. God created that. When you get to the point in a level in a relationship where the intimacy is just like on another level, that God created that. He made it for a husband and a wife. And he made it for you to have that in your secret place, in your bedroom. Yeah,
privacy.
Privacy between you two, not a third party, not a fourth party, not in here a third party, not in here a third party, but between you two. But when it's just, you're thinking of other things, you're thinking about the laundry, you're thinking about the dishes, you know, he's thinking about the girl he just watched, you know, like 5 minutes ago before he came into the bedroom.
Don't do it.
Like, how can you get to that level when you're just allowing all these things to kind of get into your relationship? And I'm sorry if I'm passionate about this because, you know, like, it is a big deal. Like, we cry and we complain and we say, like, my husband isn't there, he's not, but we're not there either. we're not meeting them either. You know what I mean? We're not.
I want to kind of continue on with this. So he continues on. He says, may the wine go straight to my beloved, flowing gently over her lips and teeth. I belong to my beloved, and his desire is for me. Come, my beloved, let us go to the countryside. Let us spend the night in the villages. Let us go early in the vineyards to see if the vine have budded, if their blossoms have opened, and if the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give you my love. So, I mean, this is like, man, if I could write a poem like that, that'd be legit. So, and it's important to notice this because we've kind of lost that kind of intimacy.
Yeah, we did, guys.
We've lost the ability, or we're not even taught anymore how to court a woman, or for a woman to reserve herself for the right time and moment. Because really, we made some comments, or I made some comments in other podcasts about when we get married, it's like we made it. You know, like we reached the pinnacle of relationship and we made it. Now, where it gets kind of mixed up is that part of the reason why it's something to celebrate is in another part of the Bible that talks about how a man will leave his mother and father and will join with this woman and become one flesh. Okay, and that's a description of the act of sex intercourse, or like she said, making love, but it's consummation of marriage when two flesh become one. And so that is probably the most intimate, most I guess the closest physically that we could ever be to another person, where we're actually as if we're like one flesh. And when we're married in the eyes of God, we are one. So when we tarnish that, or we cause that to be jaded because of our insensitivity, because of our overexposure to oversexualization of women or men, and people are having sex before marriage. Okay, and I'm not trying to preach to the choir here, because trust me, I've been all kinds of crazy in my life, you know, and so I know what I'm talking about, because none of that produced a sense of fulfillment that comes when you have a loving, intimate relationship in marriage with God as the foundation. And so I'm living proof. I've experienced both marriage, this marriage with God as the foundation, and just promiscuous relationships where it was just for the physical, for the pleasure, self-gratification, whatever you want to call it, and it leaves you empty and leaves you wanting. There's no fulfillment in that. And so just taking this, if you said something like this, crazy beautiful, to your wife, what wouldn't she do for you, right? What wouldn't she would just melt away in your hands. Okay. Yeah. And so here's what I'm going to kind of hit a little bit harder in a different way. And I want to start off by saying, because I came out strong about the divorce, right? I'm not advocating that you have to stick it out for the children if there's some type of abuse in the relationship. And because we're talking about sex, I think it's appropriate to mention that there is such thing as sexual abuse in a marriage. Okay. So there are things that I want you to know that are not okay. Right. And if you're experiencing those things, and I encourage you to get help, okay, professional help, get the help that you need that's appropriate for you, depending on the situation that you're in.
Yeah. You don't deserve that.
Okay. So that's important. Okay. It's important to acknowledge that. I'm not saying that if your spouse is cheating on you every other day, that you just need to stick it out for the children. Okay. There needs to be healthy boundaries. There needs to be boundaries that are set, that when we violate these things, then we have the understanding that you are no longer honoring our marriage, and therefore there are consequences to that. Okay. I don't expect you, wife, to continue sleeping with your husband because it's the only other option. He says you either do it or else. You know, there's such thing as even marital rape, where or husbands force their wives to have sex forcefully, physically, and that's not right. That's not appropriate. That's not okay. Okay. And if that's the case, then you need to get help. You need to find somebody that can advocate for you. You need to find somebody that you can trust to talk to, or you need to get the professional help that you need. It's seeing a psychiatrist, psychologist, somebody to help you in your relationship, in your situation. Okay. With that being said, I want to talk to the men for a second, and I want to advocate that your spouse is there for you, okay? To support you, to love you, to help serve you in whatever way. But that road that goes both ways. Mm-hmm. You also should be there to support her, to love her, to serve her in whatever way she needs to have a sense of fulfillment, companionship, intimacy. Yeah. And we made a comment in another podcast that if you want your wife to please you in the bed, then you need to make sure that you please her outside the bed. And if you do that and you have that balance, trust me, you'll reach a level of intimacy like you've never experienced before. And it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. And this is something that we need to strive for. And if we achieve it, when we achieve it, you need to cherish it. You need to guard it. And the ways that we do that is when we have a sense of accountability and we are held accountable for our actions. Yeah. And that's why I can't express enough how important it is for men to have somebody that can kind of like mentor or disciple them, or have some married couple or somebody in your church community that can really guide you and be just a confidant and somebody to talk with on the days that are tough. Because if we're not careful and we don't keep ourselves in check, temptation is out there, and there's nobody that's exempt. Nobody's exempt from temptation, and nobody's infallible that they'll never fall. Yeah. We're weak. We need to be held accountable. We need to keep our guard up, to be strong, keep our lives intact, and be strong spiritually, emotionally, and mentally.
I was talking to a girl this week, and I was telling her, like, you have to understand that just like you wake up every day and you have a mission, okay? Satan wakes up and has a mission every single day. And his mission is to make sure that he breaks up families, that he breaks up marriages. His key things is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Every single day. That's his mission. So think about it this way. God created this intimacy, this level of, making love and this beautiful relationship, just like what we just read. He created this. So he wants you to get here. Satan also wants you to get to a place. And by kind of like taking your focus off of the relationship that God can give you, he gives you other things to think, like, we need to make your relationship exciting. So, hey, why don't we just watch porn together? That'll make it better. That will make it more exciting. Why don't we pretend that we're other people because your self is maybe not the greatest or good enough? You're not going to say that out loud. But you're going to say, like, why don't we role play a little bit? That's more exciting because you yourself that's not good enough. So here you got people, you got different people. So now you're not only putting yourself in comparison with these other people, but you're creating this illusion of what it should be when it's fake. Yep. It's not real. People are doing this and creating this like a movie, and you're expecting your spouse to get to this level when it's never going to happen. So Satan's very smart in the way that he creates things. He's very intelligent in the way that he slowly sleeps in, like, how does it say? Like,
just kind of slithers in.
Yeah, into your marriage, into your relationship. So then after a while, it's like, well, she said, let's watch it. Like, sure, why don't I just watch it? She's busy. She doesn't want to have sex. Like, let me do that. So then he's satisfying himself. Then he doesn't need you. And then guess what? When somebody else comes along, because the door is wide open for a third party to come in, here's at work, oh man, you look really nice today. Man, you're working really hard. I brought you some extra lunch today. You should eat it. I've noticed that you don't have lunch. So here you have very easily the door wide open for people to come in. And by you accepting it, by you saying like, oh yeah, thanks. Thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for all of this. Like, thank you for texting me. You noticed I was tired? Yeah, I was tired. Satan's very smart in the hooks he gives.
Yep.
He's very creative. And here you are just accepting it, thinking this person appreciates me. This man appreciates me. This girl appreciates me. And little by little, the door that was like a little bit open is wide open for somebody to come in and just step in. It's very easy. And the sad part about it is that there's another marriage broken. Yeah. There's another kids being raised by somebody else. And it's a cycle. It's just going to go over and over and over. And you can say, Vanessa, it's not even like that. Like, no, like it's no. No? Okay. So you keep doing what you're doing, and then you tell me, okay? You tell me how you feel when your husband is not interested in you, or when your wife is not interested in you, or when you start getting those text messages or those add-ons on Facebook to see, that it's not that easy, that those doors aren't being open. Those doors are being open, and they need to stay shut.
Yep.
Because the only people that need to have that intimacy is between your husband and you.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right. It starts out so small and it just increases. And one of the most terrible things that we could do, going back to how over-sexualized everything is today and how it desensitizes us, is if you now become dependent on the illusion of some porn star or the illusion of some other role play or some toy or some whatever, and now you can't even be intimate without that extra stimulation, you have a problem. That's an issue. That's a problem. And it actually, that mental and emotional issue or addiction creates a spiritual problem, which has real physical effects on your body.
Yeah.
And it can cause dysfunction, so you're not able to perform properly. It causes problems in the intimacy in the relationship, because now you have to have those things in order to be intimate with each other. And if you don't have it, then how is that supposed to make her feel if you can't perform, and vice versa? And so then
whole mess, guys.
Yeah. And you're not in each other's presence 24/7. If you guys both work, or if one works, then you guys are outside of each other's presence for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're looking around and you're like, man, their relationship is better. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I noticed that girl at the gas station. Those little things start turning into more and more and more. Yeah. And before you know it, you're creating such bad problems, and you get so caught up that you don't even recognize your relationship anymore. You don't even recognize who you are. And you start looking at each other like you're strangers.
Yeah.
Or you start searching up girlfriends that you had in high school, or just
it's true.
Satan's timing. You're having a problem in your marriage, and they send you a friend request or something like that. Like, those are the things that we're playing with fire.
Yeah.
And there's so much to be gained in diverting our attention back to God, remembering what brought us together in the first place. There's so much to be gained by investing time and energy into our relationship to establish that firm foundation that we've been talking about in other podcasts, so that we can develop a loving, intimate, passionate relationship with one another that will help us to thrive and connect in new, deeper, more meaningful ways than we ever thought possible before. And this only happens with work. Like, it doesn't just happen because you watched a movie and like, oh, how come we don't have that? It doesn't happen because you read, Cosmo's 10 top sex secrets. I don't know, whatever, right? Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Okay, it works when you as a person look within yourself and figure out what you can change, what you can do to be a more engaged partner in the relationship. If I want to reach her in a new way, trust me, that women and men are so different, right? It doesn't work that way. Like, just think about it this way. Like, guys, when you get out of the shower, right? Like, you're probably thinking like, okay, I'm going to plan it out. I'm going to walk out, no towel on, no nothing. She's going to see this and it's going to be irresistible. She's just going to throw herself at me. And then you walk out And she's just like thinking about the laundry and the dishes and the kids and meals and, you know, what I got to do tomorrow. And she's walking back and forth by, and you're like, you're not seeing this. You're not seeing all this going on right here. And it's like, because they don't have that trigger like we do, where it's just raging hormones everywhere and generally speaking, right? Yeah. And so just because we're looking at them, they get out of the shower, they could be trying to get dressed, and we're trying to sneak a peek, and we're like pulling the towel and be like, man, no, you don't got to dress so quickly. You know, why the rush? You know, like we're just so different.
Yeah, we are.
And so we have to respond and engage them differently. Yeah. So if I want to reach her, I have to do things differently. She makes a to-do list, right, of things that she needs to get done each day. I can knock a couple of those things off of the to-do list. I can solve a problem that she has. You know, recently I changed a part in the car that she'd been wanting changed for a really long time. You know, and that got me brownie points. Like, you know, I can do that. Mm-hmm. Helping out with dinner, helping with the kids or putting the baby to sleep. You know, those are the things that I can do that actually remove a load from her shoulders and actually relieves her. And here's another thing. Sometimes we want to get to bed so quickly, but we're willing to sit back on the couch and be like, okay, whenever she finishes with those 100 things, you know, maybe we'll have time. I'll tell you what, she'll have way more time if you help her get those things taken care of. Okay.
Yes.
And you'll have more time in bed if you help her knock out those things so that she can actually get to bed. Just a thought. Just
saying.
If we think about it like this, right? She said that Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy. It's not a coincidence that before you were married, you couldn't keep your hands off each other. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, it's like you got married and you took a pill and you woke up and now all of a sudden you just can't stand the sight of each other. Yeah. And now you're begging to have time together. And it has happened maybe once in a while that you get to have sex with each other. And it's just...
Or it's not planned out. It's not in the calendar till next week. Like, yeah. That's crazy, guys. That's crazy.
And here's the thing. And if you're not married and it's been years, or however long, and you guys are living together and you have kids together, it can be very straining emotionally and mentally for one of the two. One of you wants commitment in the form of marriage. But when you're playing marriage, you get all the marriage problems without the marriage benefits. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough place to be.
Yeah.
So I would evaluate where you want your relationship to go and really have that conversation. And here's the thing that kind of makes people feel awkward when we talk about it sometimes. Have you even like talked about with your spouse, like, hey, what do you like? What do you not like in bed? What
seriously, guys?
What's enjoyable for you and what's not? What do you want me to do and what don't you want me to do? And I think a lot of times, I don't know, I'm just going to say probably women, most of the time, they're just like suffering through things. And I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, but I just really have, I'm feeling it, right? I think more times than not, women are just kind of suffering through things for the sake of getting through it. Like you're doing your duty or doing that chore, you know, and I'm sorry, you know.
On behalf of all men, he's sorry.
I'm sorry. However, we got to talk about it.
Yeah, it's true, guys.
We don't know what we don't know. Okay, so be mature enough to have those conversations. You can't tell me that, especially if you got kids, you can do all these things and God knows what goes on behind closed doors, but you can't actually talk about the intimacy in the relationship and what's pleasing and what's not. That kind of doesn't make sense, you know?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, guys, that I remember when we were talking about intimacy, and it's crazy how many girls I've come across that they're embarrassed they're embarrassed with their spouse. I'm like, do you wear lingerie? Oh, no. Like, oh, no, I don't do that stuff. Like, it's like, wait, what? Like, okay, hold on. Like, and it's like, so how is your intimacy? Oh, the lights have to be off, and then within 5 minutes, we're done. It's like, where's like the intimacy? Like, where's the foreplay? Where is the part where you guys like enjoy each other and just be there with each other? Like, date in the bedroom. You know what I mean? Like, when you guys are dating, you guys are like making out for hours. You know what I mean? It's true. You guys are. And if you're cheating on somebody, you know you're making out every 5 minutes in every corner that you could possibly
don't go there.
Do. It's true. But like when it comes to your wife or your husband, it's like, oh no, I'm ashamed. I'm embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like this is your partner. Like if you don't show up for them, I'm telling you, you're leaving the opportunity for somebody to do it for you.
Yep.
And it goes the opposite. So if you're not showing up for them in this way, like the sex part, and just allowing your husband to know that you still want them, that they're still attracted, like
you're desirable.
You know, you desire them. And it also goes the other way, that your husband is still in love with you, that he still cares, that he opens the door for the car. Here's a funny story. So when I met this guy, I
have no idea what's coming, so I'm bracing myself.
I like told him like if he could open the car door, because I was used to that and I liked that. I had thought that was like a really big gentleman move. He looked at me like, girl, you crazy. Like, I ain't gonna be opening the door for you.
Like, I could have swore you had two hands.
I bet you probably did say that to me.
I probably
his
did.
shirt, get over it. That's totally him. So that's his favorite saying.
I'm laughing because I'm embarrassed. It's not appropriate. Don't do it.
So here we are, like years, down the road, and I have no idea how he started to open the door. But I swear the day he opened the door, like I was like, oh my gosh, I literally like, I felt like I was in a fairy tale because he opened the car door for me. Like I thought it was like so romantic, and I thought it was so sweet. And there's so many things that you can do. Like for my boys, Aiden and Brandon, there's so many things that I'm teaching them now, because I'm just like, oh, when you get married, your wife's going to love me. Because, like when they hand over the water bottle, I'm like, make sure that you open the lid, you keep it on, but you hand it over to them. And when they're coming in, you open the door, and Aiden's like, well, what about if they don't want me to open the door? I was like, I don't care if they don't want you to. You do it, because that's your job. You're a gentleman. I go, how would you feel if your wife, if you get in the car and something happens to her because you went in the car first and she was outside, like she was the last person in? He's like, oh man, I didn't think about it that way. So you always have to think like you're the protector. You're the superhero. You are the Prince Charming. If you're not being the Prince Charming in your wife's lives, then you're missing out.
That's right.
She's missing out.
I love the way that she looks at me now, because I can actually attest that it does make a difference, right? Before I just didn't care. I didn't care enough to want to do those things. And I didn't see the benefit of it. So now I'm actually fulfilled when I see that I've done something good, not by her acknowledging like she did now, which I appreciate, but by the way that she responds to me, the way that she looks at me. I notice that if I open the door for her, not only does it make her feel good, but generally when I sit down in the driver's seat, she gives me a kiss. And so that kind of is a way of like, oh, that's kind of like a reward, do that enough, and it starts to allow her to make her want to be with me. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we gain her favor and make her attracted to us. Yeah. For them, everybody has their thing. She could just be putting her hair in a ponytail, or, I don't know, changing or something like that. And I just stop what I'm doing. And I'm like, we each have our own thing where, for a woman, they don't have to do as much for us to get to that level. Yeah. But for us, we reach them in a different way.
Yeah.
And so what happens is now through those little things, not only are we now becoming more intimate with each other. I noticed, I think it was 2 days ago, we were walking from going to the store. And so Lily wanted to hold my hand. And so Aiden naturally kind of drew close to Vanessa. So when we were walking back to the car, I opened the door for Lily and Aiden opened the door for Vanessa. And I noticed that and I thought, man, that was so cool because Aiden's learning to be a gentleman, right? Chivalry is not dead unless we allow it to die.
That's
by
right,
not
guys.
teaching our kids that. So let's keep teaching our kids.
Yes.
So he's learning to be a gentleman, opening the door for his mom. So he's getting this practice, right? And this type of love has nothing to do with sexual anything.
Nope.
Okay. It's love in action. Okay. And so I'm teaching Lily that she needs to be with a gentleman, right? So I'm being a gentleman to her and it has nothing to do with anything sexual in any way. It's love in action. Okay. And so we're teaching our kids these things. We're instilling in them that this is appropriate. This is what a gentleman does. This is the kind of man you should be for Aiden. And this is the kind of man you should seek for Lily. And in doing so, we are raising these kids in the way that they should go. And when they leave the house, they will continue on that path, right?
Yeah.
For us, guess what? Now we're teaching our kids how to be gentlemen and how to seek out gentlemen. So if I'm loving on her kids and I'm being a good father, I'm being a good role model, guess what? She's becoming more attracted to me. Now there's no other way for another man to slide his way into our relationship because nobody is going to love her the way that her man does. Nobody's going to love her the way her husband does. Nobody's going to love her the way the father of her children does.
Oh my goodness.
And when we do that, we close this door and not allow anything or anyone to interfere with our marriage.
Yeah.
So it's so important for us to be able to take that role, to step up into that place. Don't tell me you're willing to do everything for your wife. I'm willing to do anything for my woman, but you can't do the dishes. You can't open the door. Can't change the baby. You can't do the night shift, when the baby starts crying. You can't take over dinner once in a while or do laundry or make the bed. I don't know. You name your thing. But we can't say we're willing to do anything. And then when she asks us for help, we're like, oh, I'm tired. I got to do everything around here. We can't do that. So here's what I think happens in a marriage. And I'll just kind of highlight some things that I think are important in this topic. Sex is a problem when there's not enough of it for a man. Okay, because it is a need. It's a need that we have. Men, if you're not getting enough of it, don't blame her. Don't turn to pornography. Don't look at other women. Look at yourself and ask yourself, could I be doing something different to make her want me more? Flirt with your wife. Date your wife. Buy her random gifts. If she likes flowers, buy a flower on the way home. Okay? Buy a card. Write a poem.
Bring her a coffee.
Go old school. Make her a mixtape, a mix CD. I'm talking old school.
I know.
Dedicate a song to her.
Those.
Remember back in the day when you would find that song and you're like, man, you just dedicate it to your girl. Oh, this song reminds me of you. And she kind of gushes over that. Go back to those days. Okay. Write her a letter, leave it somewhere for her to find. Write a message on the mirror that she's going to see when she gets up and to do her makeup in the morning or brush her teeth. Find a way to date, to flirt. If she's cooking in the kitchen or something, go behind her, give her a little slap, pat, do something. Okay, do something to remind her that you're there, that you're attracted to her, that you love her, that she's desirable, that even after having 3 kids, she still looks good. Make her feel loved, make her feel beautiful. Let her know by telling her. Do you tell her that you love her? Do you tell her that she's beautiful? Do you tell her that she's your everything? Go back to the old school days, when we would do those things. Okay. If we're not getting enough, don't look anywhere else. Look to yourself and figure out what you can do differently. Women, I think that it starts going wrong when you feel like you're being used, like that's all that you're there for. You're there to raise the kids and give yourself up sexually for his pleasure. And it's got to be, I can't say that I understand how that feels, but I can understand that it must be a miserable feeling to feel that way. And if you feel that way, guess what? You don't have to do it. You can say no. And trust me, when a man wants something like that from you, he will do anything to get it. Trust me. So that's a perfect time when he's all ready and you're in bed and he's leaning over looking at you like, just say, you know what? I do want to be with you right after this conversation, and let him know what's going on. Let him know how you feel. And trust me, he's going to want to hear every word you have to say. If that means that afterwards there's going to be some action. Okay? And please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that you're selling yourself out for something else. You're married. You're in a relationship. Okay, this is part of how relationships work. I don't get to have my cake and eat it too, right? I have to contribute to the relationship. And it just so happens that this sexual part of our relationship is a very key element in making sure that, one, I'm nice to the girl so that I could get what I want, and also a tool for her to, one, know that I'm interested in her, right? If I'm flirting with her, if I'm being a gentleman to her, and she's desiring me more and she wants to be with me, that develops our relationship in an intimate, deep way. And it confirms our love for each other, mostly letting her know that I'm still attracted to her, that I want to be with her. Now, if I'm not doing my part, she can say no to the sex part and say, I don't feel loved. You're not meeting my needs. So why do I have to meet your needs? And that, trust me, when you put that on the table, I'm like, I got pencil out, notebook ready. I'm ready to learn, everybody. And I'm ready to take notes. Tell me what I got to do to make this right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm saying it in a joking way, but it's true. You can at any moment say, you know what? I'm not feeling well. I'm not right. Okay. I don't feel good. My body hurts. I feel emotionally drained. I need help. I need your help with certain things. Have a conversation. You don't have to do it. And just because it's your quote unquote duty, that's not how it works. Yeah. So I would say it goes wrong for a woman when you feel that way, but please be willing to express yourself. Be willing to have that conversation.
Don't just shut yourself off.
Exactly. When you do that, that's when it gets really dangerous. One, because a man doesn't know what you're thinking. So it's hard for him to make necessary adjustments if he doesn't know what needs to change. He thinks he's doing things right when you say nothing. Not getting in trouble is a good thing for us. That means keep doing more of that. When it comes to the sexual experience, whatever it is that we're doing, if you don't say, hey, I don't like that, or that doesn't feel good or feel right, don't do that. Okay. We don't know otherwise. Okay. And so having those conversations, I know it might seem awkward or feel awkward or sound awkward, but trust me, it's important. Just the same way talking about finances. It can be problematic, but it's necessary. It's the same thing that we should do when it comes to intimacy and sex. If things are not right, we should talk about it, because it won't get better if we don't express, if we don't develop new ways to love each other and to serve one another and to be respectful in that relationship, in the intimate part. We have to respect each other.
Yeah. And one of the things that he was like mentioning about just being able to just express yourself and share like how you feel. Like the part about being self-conscious, like when we shut ourselves out because of our own insecurities, like we're also crippling the relationship between us and what they can do for us.
Yeah.
Because if we tell them that, if we say, I don't feel beautiful, or I don't feel this way, then they have the opportunity to say like, but I love you, but I love this about you, but I'm in love with you in this way. And by you being able to express yourself, you also need to be able to accept that. Accept what they say about you. Accept that literally they chose you. You are the most beautiful person to them in the world. So when you're able to kind of let your guard down and you're confident in your own skin, like it creates something, just, it's kind of like an aroma that you just like, you throw off because you're confident in who you are and in your body and in yourself. And if you say like, okay, well, it's his fault that I'm not confident because he does do this, because he makes me feel this way.
Don't be calling her fat. Don't be calling her ugly.
So then you need to be able to like express yourself in that way. And guys, I need you to do me a favor. So we already have we're already self-conscious. It's in us. We had babies. Our body doesn't look the same. And then especially if you are watching pornography, like we don't look like those girls. We don't look like supermodels. We don't look like that. So when you're constantly bringing these people or talking about these people, or we go out to the store and you're eyeing, like you're having Google eyes over there over just like the hot 20-year-old, like that doesn't make us feel good either. Yeah. So you need to make sure that you're being conscious of your effort to allow your wife to know that she is the only woman for you, that she is the only person that you love and that you want. And if you want to work at this relationship, then you have to do that.
Yes.
One of the things that I appreciate about Joe is that I've never seen him look at other girls. Like I have never seen him. And there has been pretty girls where I can say, like, dang, that girl's pretty. And he'll be like, oh yeah, she's pretty, because we can do that now. Like, I won't be like, oh gosh, you just said that, because I'm not, but we can admit that. We can do that.
Yeah.
But it used to be where I could see literally people like at the restaurant, we can be sitting down and like we would be having conversations with these couples, and the guy would just be like, like straight up looking at somebody's breast, or a girl walking by and they're looking at their butt. Like, it's so noticeable. If we can notice, I can't even imagine the embarrassment that their wife was going through at that moment.
Yeah.
So just know, like, we can see that. We can see that, and it does not feel good. It makes us feel really bad, and it just keeps bringing our self-esteem down. And your job is to help us just not be like, not to have our self-esteem low.
Yeah, I think every man likes to think of themselves as kind of like the king of their domain. Mm. But I tell you what, man, a king is nothing without his queen. So if you really want to be the king, take care of your queen. Guard her, protect her, love her like nobody else, care for her like nobody else, provide for her like nobody else. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about love, hugs, kisses, affection. Okay, just demonstrations of your love by doing things for her, serving her in different ways, helping her out when it's needed, holding her when she's sad, hugging her when she cries, giving her space when it's needed. Whatever it is that you need to do, being a father to her children, all of those things make up a man, a good man. Yeah. And so each one of us, both husbands and wives, have it within us to do good things when we have God as our foundation, God in the center of our heart, teaches us to love each other, right? Teaches us to be patient and compassionate and kind. And those are the things that we really want to develop in our relationship that takes us to that new level of intimacy. So I want to encourage you guys to love differently. Yeah. Take a look at yourself. Like we always ask, this is about self-reflection. If things are not going well in this area of sex and intimacy, don't blame each other, right? Take a look at yourself and figure out what it is that you need to do differently. And it might be difficult. You may have a problem. If you have a problem with pornography, or if you're addicted to other things, or if you can't stop looking at other men or women, get help. Be accountable. Have somebody help hold you accountable so that you can get better. Get yourself plugged into a community somewhere that can help you in that area. Men need other men to hold them accountable. That's just the way it goes. And there's a concept that maybe we can talk about another time about looking at other women, and looking at other men. You need to be very careful with that, because all of these things, we're either going one way or another. We're either leaning in towards God and developing these good habits that help develop a loving, intimate relationship, or we're pulling away from God, that are removing those good things and that are taking us further away from a loving, intimate relationship, which means closer to divorce, closer to separation, closer to adultery, closer, infidelity, all these things. And so it's either or. I wouldn't try to skirt right in the middle and think, oh, I got this under control. No. Oh, I can handle this. Oh, I can do it on my own. Really consider what you're saying and put the time and the effort into think about this. We spend so much time in school being educated to try and figure out how to live a normal, productive life. How much of that do we spend learning how to be a good husband or wife? Learning how to develop a loving relationship with our spouse. It takes time. So what I would encourage both of you, and I'll finish with this. I won't have to say anything else after this. Be an expert in your spouse.
Yeah.
Dedicate your time and energy to becoming an expert in your spouse, to know what makes them laugh, what makes them happy, what makes them feel good, what makes them hurt, what makes them cry, what makes them, feel elated and overjoyed. Learn about your spouse in such a way, in so much detail, that no one else has a chance, because they have everything they need right there in that relationship.
So when you're doing that, girls, this week I want you to do me a favor. And one of the things that's a really big turn on for guys, it's just the respect that you give. So this week, make sure that you are allowing him to know like how you value him and why you value him. Just the same way that he has to practice flirting with you, that is the way that you would practice flirting with him. Is when you guys are dating, you're constantly telling him like how great he is, how much everybody loves him, how your family loves him, how you can't be without him, all these things. So this week, practice giving him the respect, whether if you feel like he deserves it or not, because then you're going to go back to like, well, I don't think he deserves it. And then he's going to go back like, well, I don't even feel that way either. So you don't want to get stuck back there. So what you want to do is just, when he goes to work, man, thank you. You're like one of the best, providers I know. You're such a hard worker. Like, I miss you, like I miss seeing your face. He gets home, like, I cooked your favorite food. I was just thinking of how hard you were working. Just whatever you want to say, but just acknowledge him, acknowledge his effort, acknowledge who he is as a person, and speak to that, encourage that, love on that.
Well, I hope that you found some value in what we talked about today. I do appreciate your guys' feedback, and keep letting us know, letting us know what interests you, what would be helpful for you, or, how we can help you better or serve you better. Because that's our goal, to reach you right where you're at and to really just serve you the best way we can. So
we love you guys. We care about you guys. Please keep letting us know your feedback. It matters because it kind of just helps us to kind of, like you said, gear toward like what you guys need. But we're going to just say a quick prayer.
I'll pray.
I'll let you say a prayer.
All right, Lord, thank you for just this opportunity and the opportunity we have to reach people that we would never be able to reach in any other circumstances. Lord, thank you for allowing your love and grace in us to be able to help us reach out to those who might need this information. Lord, I pray that for those who are listening, that these words would just find a place in their heart and in their mind, that they would take the verse that we shared and they would meditate on it and read it for themselves, that they would be inspired to be more loving and more intimate, more passionate with their spouse. I pray that as they make the effort, even in the smallest amounts, that each other's spouse would recognize the effort being made, that they would acknowledge each other's effort, that they would love each other more and appreciate each other for the things that they do that are good. Lord, help each one of us to look within ourselves to find out what it is that we can change to be able to love our spouse better and to serve our spouse better. Thank you for each one listening. Thank you for what you've done in us. And I pray that what you've done in us could be done in others and more. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. God bless you. See you soon.